So I keep trying to push them, but hey, we keep praying for them. So ladies and gentlemen, please, I would like to welcome the young, dynamic, filled with wisdom, filled with passion. Do you know what? I think I just read stuff now, right? Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Intervene and Lead Your Roles. I try my best. Okay, that is Intervene, and that's Lead Your Roles. So I'll give you 1 minute just to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, what NTV stands for is Empower Nations to Elevate Radically Victorious. It's something that God gave me that is really cool. My actual name is Eddie. A father of two, got married in 2012. So me and Lydia here, we celebrated last year 5 years. It's a mad testimony because it's quite a unique thing because most of my friends don't have what we have. So we have a very powerful testimony.
Hi, I'm Lydia Rose. A lot of people mistake me for 16. I'm 28. I had a spinal injury when I was 13, so I survived paralysis. I'm paralyzed from waist down. Doctors declared I'll never walk again. But funny thing about that is that when you're facing a challenge, you think that the rest of your life is finished, but something bad happens to you. But the only person who have the right to say no is you. God has already given us all a chance, and it's up to us to align with God's vision. And if we can't align, we will settle for less. So I decided in my young age of 13 to settle for God, what God has said, and that's why I'm here today.
Amen.
Okay, thank you very much for that. The next couple of invite to the stage are young couple, passionate about God, love God. The husband's a worshiper, book writing coach, and they just recently got married last year. Put your hands together for Pastor Tunji and Elizabeth. Okay, thank you very much. Awesome stuff. Let's put that right there. That's great. Okay, so how's married life? That's the next question. How's married life? Great. Okay.
How's married life?
It's okay. No, I think I'd say so far so good. It's just one of those things where you're trying to get your mindset correct in that just changing from how you think as a single person to now thinking not just about yourself, but thinking about someone else now. That's really, I think, where we're at. We're literally approaching 1 month, so we're still very much in the early stages of our marriage. So yeah, we're learning every day.
Okay, so move on. I got the hint. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to ask the panelists a few questions because we've got Lydia Rose and Interview who have been married for 5 years, and we've got a freshly newly married couple, Elizabeth and Pastor Tunji. So what we want to do is ask you a few questions because a lot of people here are single or either dating, and I'm sure there's something you've done right for you to have met the woman you want to marry and for you to have met the husband that you want to marry. And also, I know, because I know you guys, you've had your fair share of problems in the past. Not in terms of your relationship, but previous relationships. And what we're talking about here is dealing with disappointments in relationships. So it'll be nice to know how you did deal with your disappointments and how did you move on from that to where you are now, happily married? Because a lot of the time, the difficulty that we have amongst people is you have a bad experience and you become stuck.
Yeah.
And the whole point of this event is to help you to unstuck, to get you unstuck rather, and move on, and to give that sense of hope that yes, you might have had a bad experience, but you don't have to, park yourself in that spot. Okay? So without spending too much time, the question I'm going to ask you, the first question is, how did you know without a doubt that your husband or wife was the one? So I'll pass on to Elizabeth. It's your new.
Oh, how did I know? Right. I think for those of us that are Christians, we all have our ways that God speaks to us. In my walk with God, yes, I have conversations with Him about the kind of person I want to marry. And a lot of times they tell you, yeah, give God your list, tell Him what you want, and all that stuff. And it's good because it helps for you to know what you want. So when that thing or that person comes along, then you can recognize that, yes, that's what I want. So in my walk with God and over the past couple of years, I've been praying about marriage and been looking unto God and waiting on God and all that stuff. But when Tunji finally came along, funny enough, it was a friend that introduced us. It was a mutual friend. And initially, his friend was like, do you want to know this guy? I'm like, okay. Okay, let's see how it goes. And we started talking, and for some reason, I think I had the conviction before he did about the relationship, because as we talked and as we got to know each other, I was ticking boxes in my head. I was ticking, yes is this, yes is that. And because I'm someone who's passionate about God, that was top of my list. Someone who loves God and someone who just loves to worship God. And that was very much what his life was about. So for me already, I was sold, kind of thing. And everything else was, okay, we can work on this, okay, we can work on that, and you'll find that the person might not necessarily tick all your boxes, but they tick certain boxes that to you are non-negotiables for you. And funny enough, there would be moments in the early stages of our relationship that I'll sit there and think, wow, God, thank you. He ticks those boxes. He's just right. And I remember in the very, very early stages, because I was sure to a point, I wanted confirmation. And so one of the first things I did, because I'm really close to my pastors and I value what they say, so one of the first things I did was introduce him to my pastors. And I remember talking to my pastor's wife, and she was like, pastor is going to be hard on this guy, so we better pray. And I was like, okay, fine, cool. But he came prepared. He was ready, and that was the best thing about it. He's a writer, so one of the things he did was he came with one of his books to give to my pastor. And the book was about worship. So which pastor is not going to be impressed already? So, he gave him the book, and they started talking, and my pastor is Yoruba. I'm not Nigerian, but he's Yoruba as well, so that was already helping things. And so they got talking, and my pastor started asking questions. Tunji was ready. He answered every question, and he was very confident and very sure. And bearing in mind, this was literally a month and a half after we had just literally started talking. So I think for both of us, we had gotten to that stage where we knew. And so we just needed those confirmations. And after that meeting, I remember my pastor saying to me, at one point in the meeting, he just sat there and he looked at his wife and he said, I was ready to give this guy a hard time. But from the minute he walked in, my heart was at peace. And for me, that just sealed the deal. And I think it was 2 weeks later, I met his pastor as well. And the things that his pastor was saying, his pastor and the wife, the things they were saying just sealed it for me. And we knew from there that we were going all the way.
Awesome, fantastic.
Well, for me,
like she said, she got convicted first. I was still thinking, she's not Nigerian, she's not Yoruba. I'm not sure, family and stuff. And I was talking to someone else who was Yoruba, Nigerian at the time, and went to see that one's pastor, and that just killed it. So I said, okay. And I said, okay, God, if it is Elizabeth, let me know. And even though we were still talking, for me, it was ticking boxes that previous exes couldn't tick. In terms of ministry, and in terms of not looking down at me. Because people say, oh, he's a pastor, oh, he does worship and stuff like that. They just see the outer part. They see you on Facebook, they see everything and thinking, oh yeah, this one's making money, he's doing this, he's doing that. But I was real with her to let her know that, yes, you can see all that, but hey, that doesn't mean there's £10 million in the bank. Not yet. And at the time I wasn't working. I was still trying to build my business. And she lives in Bristol. Well, she lived in Bristol. And I was in London. And I thought, okay, let me give her a test. You come to London. Because maybe back in the day, most girls tell them to come from outside London to London, they tell you you're having a laugh. You're the guy, you need to come see me. And for me, she done it 3 times, where she came to London 3 times before I came to Bristol. And that kind of
I was in London for work, that's fine.
Well, in London for work, yes. But you were not near me in London. I said it was still far out. But the fact that she still said, okay, let's meet, and I will still drive from Bristol to come and meet you, that kind of sealed it for me, in a way. And just seeing her personality and the type of person that she is. I love to worship, and sometimes we could be on the phone and I just burst out worshiping. And then she'll just start worshiping as well. I'm thinking, okay. And then she can just start speaking in tongues, praying. And I'm thinking, oh wow. And that just kind of sealed it. Because in the past, it's like, no, I can't marry a pastor. No, I can't marry a worshiper. The pressure is too much being with a pastor because of this and this and this and this and this. But that didn't faze her. And that's what kind of sealed it for me. Someone that I know that can hold me up in ministry, hold me up in the call of God on my life, and be with me to be able to fulfill that very call was one of the first things that sealed it for me.
In my situation, I first started talking to her on Facebook. Facebook. I was sharing my songs. So I was just promoting my songs on Facebook, and I shared her this song, which was actually about finding your wife in God, which was quite ironic. So I sent it to her, and she really loved it. She really liked it, and she told me to send her more music. But for some reason we lost all contact, and we didn't speak to each other for another year. So then the next year in 2011, I was going through a serious trial in my life. I was in uni, and my student loan company wasn't giving me any loan because of a lot of complications, so I couldn't pay my rent. I didn't have enough time to get a job in order to pay the rent. So the landlord got really angry and said, "You have to move out in 2 days' time. I don't want you in this house anymore." So I was like, wow, so I have to move out, don't know where to go. So it was a really trying place in my life. So I was praying, I was still confident that things were going to work out. And then God told me in my quiet time to go and talk to David. And David was her friend, and he lived in her house. So because it was student accommodation, like boys live with girls, and that was off campus. That was in the second year of uni. And so I spoke to him after church, said, David, do you have a house where I can stay? He was like, yeah, bruh, moving in 2 days' time. So it was divinely orchestrated. But I didn't have the money to pay the deposit to the landlord. So, cut the story short, in a week's time, just before I moved into the house, I had £500, which allowed me to pay for the rent and the deposit. And I moved into the house where she was. Now she lived upstairs and I lived downstairs. That's how we started talking again. And what confirmed to me that she was the one for me was it was just her character, who she was, all the wisdom that she had. She always had a solution for problematic cases in life. God has endowed her with much wisdom, so I saw that. I also loved how she spoke about God. I love how she prayed. She was very passionate about God. And me and her were very, very, very close friends. So we were so close as friends. We were always talking to each other, texting, just always hanging out, and really, really, really getting to know each other. And in those weeks, months, she also got the conviction first that that I'm the one for her. Mine came later on. I don't know what it is about guys that it comes much later. But eventually when I started praying, God spoke to me through a small, still voice, and I had that peace that if I go with this woman, everything is going to work out. Everything is going to work out. Just have faith. And that was it. That's what made me know that she was the one. It was her character. It was our friendship. I didn't see any major red flags. She was transparent. She didn't have any drama in her life. And and yeah, that was it.
I'm going to start from when you moved into the house. So he moves into the house, and I remember him through Facebook, and then I introduced myself and he remembered me, and I didn't think anything of it at all. But within this time, I'd like to say that I was very prayerful, and it was at this point where I was actually praying for a husband. I was praying for a husband. But whilst I was praying, I was also resting. So I wasn't like desperate for a husband. I was resting. I knew my spirit that I'll marry young. So I was praying. And then when he moved in, we became very close friends. And how it started was, as I was praying, on my way from work, I usually visit this fish and chip shop where I always go to. And then one evening, as I was going inside, I felt in my spirit, go home and cook. At this point, I was arguing with God in the doorway. I don't want to cook, I'm tired. Like when God tells you to do something, you don't want to do it. He told me to go and cook. And I was like, why are you telling me to cook? Then I was actually having a conversation with God in the doorway. I was telling him, okay, what do you want me to cook? He was like, go cook jollof rice. Like, if you listen to God, he's more closer to you than you are to yourself. So I obeyed. Till today, I thank God I obeyed, because if I didn't, I don't think I'll be here. So I went home, cooked, down in the dining to eat. He came home and he looked shattered. He looks tired. He's been working all day. He hadn't eaten. And then I asked him, do you want rice? He was like, please. So I got a plate and I was just putting all the rice in there. And then that was the first time he invited me to come and eat with him. Because at the point when he moved in, we just said hi, bye. That was the first time we sat down, ate, and had a conversation. And from then on, we started talking. I had so much in common with him. Like, I'll go somewhere and anything happened during the day, he's the first person I want to talk to. He was so transparent. He would tell me his problems. And you know me, I like solving problems. So I'll try and solve it. And one thing I liked about him was that I think I was lucky enough that he lived in my house, so he can't hide anything. You know, when you're dating someone, they live somewhere, you don't really know what they're doing half the time. But he was in my house, so I know when he's praying. And I'll go downstairs and I'll catch him praying. I'm like, wow, this guy is not normal. Like, you know, normal guys I know. This guy is different. And he loved knowledge. He's gifted with knowledge. He knows things that many people don't know. So he shared those things with me. We built such a solid friendship. It wasn't anything to do with relationship, just friendship, pure friendship, that I can open up myself. I told him everything that's happened to me in the past, and he told me everything happened to him. And we have such a strong transparency in our relationship, but at the same time, we talked about what we wanted in the future, and it matched. Everything was perfect. That's when I started asking God, is he the right one? And God started confirming to me. The way God relates to me is very funny, because he